appreciate it. Trey, are you still selling cars and stuff?
So I don't sell cars, but what I do is I inspect cars when people get into accidents. I'm the person that goes out and inspects the car, and then says this is how much your insurance company will pay for your accident.
Mm.
So yeah, that's what I do.
Okay, I just wanted to know because I was like, you know me, I do introduction, and I was like, I don't know if he's still inspecting cars. I know Chris does everything, so Chris. I'm just gonna let you say what
Nah,
you
Are
I
we?
say.
don't.
Wait, are we live now?
Yeah, we live right now. I'm like, look, she just tossed you right out of
Yeah.
the hot seat, bro. Uh,
Right.
yeah, man. Well,
Toss me
listen,
right in.
we live, man. We are here, man. Good evening to everyone that is out there.
Yeah.
Man, this is exciting. This is Men's Mental Health Month, and look, man, we're going strong and we're doing some great things and just bringing awareness, to the brothers, to men across the globe. But yeah, man, listen, I'm Brother Chris Hensen. I am a mental health advocate, a mental health coach, a mental wellness coach. I'm all about community, all about empowerment, man. I love encouraging the community, whether it's the men, the women, the children, man. I do it all. It's just something about seeing other individuals thrive and just flow in a place of love and encouragement and empowerment, man. And so
Mm.
that's what I do, man. I just bring life to other individuals so we can just have a better overall community. Because once we produce and push out good people, we will have a beautiful, blessed, and good society, man. So that's what I got going on.
A little bit of everything because Chris, like I was telling him before we went live, I was like, this man, every time I go on Instagram, he is doing something encouraging somebody on somebody's podcast. I was like, this man is out here. I said, well, all
Hmm.
right, Chris. Trey, your turn since Chris gave a rundown of who he is. Go
I
ahead.
mean,
Let's hear it.
just pretty simply, my name is Trey. It's 4 letters. Easy to remember. I do something similar to what Chris does. I try my best to just be the best person I can for all of the people that I encounter. I do have a pretty decent platform. A better me equals a better we, and it's pretty self-explanatory. Like the better we can be as individuals, the better we'll be as a collective. And I really love the idea, that Jermaine has had as far as like really honing in on mental health for men during this month. There are a lot of months, a lot of holidays, a lot of designated weeks, but we don't actually hone in on them. Like we talk about it, like, hey, just so you know, it's Men's Mental Health Month, but we don't actually do things to talk about it and really bring light to it. So I really appreciate you doing this, and I can't wait to share my opinion. Hopefully, it helps somebody like Chris and Jermaine has helped me with their opinions in the past. So
All right. Listen, I appreciate it, but you guys, I love how humble you are. Let me just start there. But these guys be hitting the pavement and doing the work. That's why I had to bring them on because when you guys were on Steph's live, I was like, I was taking notes. Traquan, the way you helped me out as a single lady, I said, I think
Hmm.
I'm ready to date, Lord. I think I think I got it. When you said a woman needs to what let a man be a man and she stay out the we gonna cover that today. We are. But when you said that, I said, oh, mm, mm-hmm. Okay. So here we go. Um, as Chris stated, like at the beginning, we're here for Men's Health Month. And of course, what I do is mental health awareness, but these gentlemen can bring it from all types of fields of life coaching and everything else. And I really love the dynamic that these two men have. They come from years of experience, not just in their field, but as men, because who's better to talk about a man's life than a man, right? So I thought about what I wanted to call this. And I said, I think men carry a whole lot of weight to the point of mental health wise, like the rates of people who are completing suicide is scary, but most of them are men, so it's about like 75% of men who attempt, they complete it. Probably because men do it in a very lethal way. And I wanted to put a microphone to the silence part of mental health, right? So that is the male struggle, Black men, especially because, I'm all about the culture. So the first question I really wanted to ask you guys is, because I like to work off the definitions. You don't have to give like Webster's definition of manhood, but manhood, what is it? How do you define it? Anybody?
I don't know. Chris, you're a little more seasoned than me. You sure you don't want to take this
I
one?
don't know. I mean, I'm 36. How old are you, fam?
I'm 32.
All right, all right,
I'm
man.
in the middle. All right.
It's I mean, listen, man. It's what 36, 46, 26. Man, brothers are still tapping into and learning this whole thing that's called manhood, and I do personally feel like it's it is core. It's going to always be the same, but it's something that seems like it is like kind of evolving throughout time, which is crazy. But um, someone that brought some light to it was this brother named Jason Wilson. And I like what he had to say is that manhood isn't like solely defined based off of masculinity. Like it doesn't just stop there. When you think about manhood, it's not just masculinity, but it's more so men tapping into being a human, basically. Not just masculinity, but you're a human. And so with manhood, I think about how Jesus was when he was here on the earth. He's both lion and lamb. You look at his definition as far as what Christ is lion and lamb. And when I think about that, it's like you're both. You're strong, but yet you're compassion. You're you're fearless, but yet you're nurturing. You're you're balanced. Basically, is what I'm trying to say. You can be sensitive. You can be ferocious. You can be courageous, but at the same time, you can show compassion. You know what I mean? As far as manhood, that's what I would link it to. Like it's a balance. You can be nurturing, but you can also be like this strong, manly dude. You need to know when to utilize both. Um, as far as I guess I do not want to call it, the feminine traits, but manhood is all about being balanced in life. Like when to, hold your anger back, and when to, step to someone in righteous anger and correct the situation. When to hold your tongue. When to give compassion when it needs to be given compassion. It's not just solely manhood isn't, you walking around here angry all the time and using violence. Is know when to step in and utilize your words to to disarm a bad situation. But for me personally, that's what manhood is. It's all about balance. It's not just, you know, manhood equals masculinity. Now, manhood means you're a human and you're going to utilize everything that humans do from, just spiritually, mentally, physically. You're going to know how to, activate that and just flow in that realm of it. So Christ, and then I like what my man Jason Wilson had to say as far as manhood. It's not just solely based on masculinity, but manhood is about being balanced in life.
All right, Chris. Go ahead, Trey.
I'm gonna be honest for you guys that's watching. I was a little selfish. I knew that Chris was only but a few years older than me. However, I really enjoy hearing his take on things. So I was a little selfish. I wanted to hear what the brother had to say, and for good reason. Like I can't say how much I agree, with what he just said, especially the part about balance.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said on the last stream that on Stephanie's stream that we talked about something similar. A men have to be capable or have the capability to be dangerous, um, and be able to control that. And a man saying that, oh, I'm choose not to be dangerous, but you're incapable of danger, like you're weak. That's what that would be classified because you don't have that capability to even be that. But someone who is dangerous and they have the capability to control that, that's real strength. So that balance, that you're talking about is key in being a man. One of the things that I'll add to that is I don't believe that being a man is what the world, social media makes it out to be, in the sense of it being a noun. A man is not a person, a place, or a thing, especially not a person. There's no particular person that this is a man. I don't know if you guys remember the commercial from when we were younger, and it was like verb is what you do, right? Being a
Mm.
man is a verb, right? It's an action
Mm.
word. Um, it doesn't look a certain way. Like Chris said, it's evolving, right? The same way that you'll hear people when they talk about biblical or religious principles, like the way that people do certain things will change. The way that it's, but the core message can't change, and that's the same thing with manhood. So the way that men operate in certain ways will change. It may look a little different from generation to generation, but for the most part, you'll see protect, provide, and provision. Like you'll always see those things from men. And I think one of the biggest things to just really embody all of what Chris said is we fill the gap. We're very logical thinkers, and our job is to fill the gap, whatever that gap may be. So you may, like Chris said, you may need to be a little bit more what we call masculine now, or there may be a time where you may need to tone it down a bit and fill the gap in that way. You may need to wash a dish here and there. Like as a man, you have to be a Swiss Army knife. Like you have to be capable of doing all things, but all in all, protect, provide, and provision are those three that always stick with us no matter what it looks like.
Yeah.
See, I love what my brother said there. It's, man, listen, it's always good to break bread with you. He absolutely right. Like that is it. Like it blows my mind when brothers link, cleaning up as a woman's thing. Like they don't want to touch a dish, they don't want to touch a broom. But I'm like, fam, if you stay by yourself, like who cleans your home? Like who who washes your clothes? It got to be you. Like it make sense. But like my brother said, I love the Swiss Army knife method, man. And shout out to all my fathers in general, but I have a special love for single fathers because that's not highlighted enough. And single fathers, they're like the perfect example of what that balance is, because they sometimes give tough love as a father, but at the same time, they're also nurturing. When they got daughters or sons or whatever the case may be, they know how to they know how to bring that element and just bring it, like my brother said, they're well rounded, and they know how to bring it all together to make life work for them, man. And I think they're just so phenomenal. But I love it, man. You killed that, bro. That was good stuff.
Both of y'all killed it. This is why you're here. I'm not saying I just waste space for anybody, but you're not wasting any type of space. You can put all the gems that you want out here. So the reason why it is called the weight that men carry, I was just listening to something earlier, and it said that burdens are meant for hips, not shoulders. And I feel like men have to carry a lot on their shoulders, and a lot of it is silence. Like as women, we don't know, because I think men are conditioned to keep it quiet. So, gentlemen, what are the weights that men have to carry? Educate us, teach us, inform us, whatever word you want to use. What do men have to carry? Trey, that's on you, sir.
You said what do men have to carry?
Yeah, I grabbed the first one, bro. You got to get this one.
We said what do men have to carry?
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, what do men have to carry? Men have to carry a millennia of expectations, right? That's the biggest thing that I would say that men have to carry. Like we can be cliche and we can say protecting, and if a big strong man bumps his mother or his wife, we can do that. But we have to understand that all of that is tied to the expectation that you should be that, right? And I think a lot of people aren't honest enough to say that they have those expectations of men. We live in a society now where, and I hate to use the word hate, but I extremely dislike it. I'll say that we live in a world where there's a such thing as your truth and my truth. Like I didn't grow up like that. The truth is the truth. Like that's it. It either is or it isn't. Like certain things are subjectable to different things, but the truth is the truth. And with that being said, like there's the my truth is well, I think that this is what a man is. I think I want to be a girl today. I think I want to be a boy today. If I say that I'm this, then everyone has to, and nobody wants to be honest about the fact that no matter what we put on different people, boy, girl, this, that, you expect your man to be this. You expect your man to provide for you to a certain extent, right? You may know that he's not a millionaire. You may know that he can't, pay all the bills, but you expect maybe some sort of financial support. You expect, even though you've never seen him in this type of environment, if you get bumped in the club, you expect for him to put some air in his chest, right? You expect for him to train your boys a certain way. You expect for him to mow the lawn, right? You expect for him to take the trash out. You expect these things, whether you're capable or not. It doesn't make you as a woman or another man. It doesn't make you incapable. But we have to be honest in the fact that we expect these things. So being a man and pointing out the fact that everyone expects so much of you, we in turn understand that those expectations are on us. So aside from the fact that a lot of us, when we're coming into manhood or anything, as a matter of fact, you never really feel like you're ready until you're into it, right? So now when you're making that transition into manhood, I don't even feel like I'm capable, right? Being a single dad, like, I don't feel like I'm capable, right? But I understand that the job has to get done, right? And I understand that the job gets done, right? And I understand that people expect, and when I say single, I don't mean single in the sense that his mom is not present, right? Because when people use that term like single parent, and they think like deadbeat other parent, like his mom is very, my son has a mom and stuff like that. But being in that type of situation, like people expect a certain thing of me. I look at my son like he expects me to be daddy, no matter how I feel. So that expectation that we know we have put together with just regular life and actually executing, it's a lot, or it can be a lot at times.
Yeah. Well, millennia of expectations. All right, Trey. Chris, what you got?
Man, not too much. He did, because I agree with everything he said, but I want to circle back around to what you said. That statement. You said, would you say burdens are meant to be carried through the hip and not the shoulders? I could see that, but I think, and it's just might be the macho man mentality, but I do think it's meant for the shoulders. And just a little encouragement. I do feel like let me not say I feel like, I know for a fact, men, we're definitely equipped to carry those burdens. We are equipped to carry that pressure. Although we need to take breaks, be wise about, taking breaks, and also, seeking out help and guidance when it comes to carrying certain pressure. But we're built for that. That's why we got, big, broad shoulders. God made us equipped to, carry these things, man, to carry the family, to put the community on our backs and make it work and make it pop. So look, brothers, for the cats that are out there listening, for the men that are out there listening, listen, man, you're more than able, more than capable. God placed something in you that that's unique. You feel me? Like, you can carry the pressures of this world, but listen, be wise about what you're carrying as well. And also seek out help and seek out guidance. But men, my brother nailed it. Like, we carry everything. From to communities, from the church to business, everything. Depression, doubt, fear. Society tries to put these devices out there for us to throw us off our game. So we have to combat that. Of course, there's a lot of positivity out here, but we got to be the ones that push that positivity. So there's more pressure. We see the ill will that's taking place in our society. We see the ill will that's been pushed, and certain agendas that are being pushed through social media and all these other crazy things of that nature. So we got to bear that pressure and that weight. So it's like, we got to get out here and set the course correct, make sure everything is straight. So everything, man, the pressure is on brothers. But although it sounds scary, we're meant to carry that pressure. We're built to carry that, because we are the man. We got to walk around with that attitude, not, to be cocky or anything like that. But I am the man because, God has made me that way. I'm positive. I'm confident. and what the Lord has placed in me to, do what I need to do out here. And every man has that mentality. Every man has that spirit within him. But that's pretty much all I got for that one right there.
All right. Men are equipped to carry. My mom said, hey, mama, she said, don't forget about being present. And that is so huge. I think, like Trey was saying about being a father, a single father at that, it's like you have to be present all the time. Like his son doesn't care that he had a bad day at work. He's like, Dad, and I expect you to be a dad. So show up. And women, sometimes we come home or we have conversations with our men. It's like, sir, I need you to be here. Like focus, be here. Because now I have a best friend that's a male, and all the time I expect him to be focused and present in the conversation. Like, don't be on a video game. Don't be, I don't know, texting. Here, be here. And we have to talk forever and ever and ever. And we expect y'all to be present. So yes, being present is another expectation that, men have to carry and uphold to. But
just to add something real quick to that, as far as like parenthood, just to make it real for you guys, right? Like I know we're telling a bunch of scenarios and stuff, but I know for myself, if you've heard me speak over the last few months, like, my dad passed in October, and really was like the worst thing that ever happened to me. And I could honestly say, like, I felt like my dad passed on the 18th. Every day after that felt like the 19th for like the next 3 months, right? It always felt like the day after. And the interesting part about that is, as much as I felt like the world stopped, or I may have wanted the world to stop, like I still had to go to work. My landlord still looked for the rent. The light company still looked for the light. There were times where I was at work, thankfully working from home, right? But there were times where I was at work, and I would literally break down. And in the midst of me breaking down, I feel a car going up my arm, right? Now I got to turn it off, right? Because I still got to be daddy, right? And while he's doing that, because he probably knows I'm hurt and he's trying to play with me, but I still got to be daddy, right? Like I still got to be him. Whereas, there are times where, and I don't mean, there are times where people may be a little bit more subjectable to lean more into females when they're emotional or when they're going through emotional things. Whereas for us, we kind of just, depending on the environment, you kind of got to chuck it up and roll with it, right? And yeah, so I just wanted to really throw that one in there, like, just because, for me, no matter what I was going through emotionally, there were times where I just had to, because I am who I am, and that comes with its own responsibility, no matter what it looks like at times.
I love that. Thank you for being transparent in that moment. It's really hard to continue to show up, especially when you're grieving. That is hard. And I feel like that's a weight that a lot of men have to carry. And again, sometimes men carry it in silence. Like, we don't know what's going on in your mind, because some men are conditioned, like, don't ask questions, figure it out. And you don't have a choice but to figure it out. And that kind of like mental headspace that you guys are in, way more than we are aware of, I think that's what causes men to like break. It causes men to struggle in silence. It causes men to keep quiet, because God forbid, like, if a man shows a weakness, it's almost like he is emasculated at that point. And it's like, first of all, like Chris said, like, men are human. Like, what human doesn't have a weakness? What human doesn't have a struggle? What human doesn't carry a burden? And we forget that. And we say, like, well, you're a man, you're supposed to carry it. You're supposed to be strong. You're supposed to do this, like all of these expectations. And then, like the grace that women get, men don't get anywhere as close. And I feel like this is why we need to have a conversation, because grace needs to be extended to men. Like, it's okay if you have a moment. It's okay if you're just not always together and always have everything figured out. It's okay. Like, life doesn't happen where a man can focus on what he has to focus on and be present and be a worker and be a dad and be a breadwinner. And like, Women, we get tired of doing it, so I know y'all do too. And that's the next thing I want to talk about is pressure. You know, the same pressure that creates a valley also creates a mountain. It's just a matter of which direction it goes, right? And I feel like men have internal pressures, societal pressures, relational pressures. Like, what are these pressures that men, that you feel like are like pushing men either down or up? Because some pressure is good, right? Pressure creates diamonds. So, pressures, gentlemen, what you got? Yep,
I,
Trey.
I'm just gonna say, and at some point, I don't want it to sound too repetitive, but when we talk about pressure, like pick one. Like it's one of it's that type of thing. Like um, biblically, we were created to be the leader, right? We were created to lead, and if you look at majority of organizations, they're led by us. Now, that's not to say that women don't have the capability to lead, nor that women won't be in leadership positions. Because I know, again, we live in a society now where it's like if you point out the fact that a man should lead, then in turn you're saying that a woman can't, right? And that's not what I'm saying for anyone that has sensitive ears. But what I'm saying is that by design, we were supposed to, right? We are supposed to. So for the men that actually take being a man serious, that comes with a lot of pressure. Now, if you don't take your job serious, like if you're at work and we all had that one coworker that do not take their job serious, there is no pressure. I'm just here.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? When the customers come in and they say, y'all don't got no more toilet tissue in the back, y'all always running out of chicken tenders, the ice cream machine always broke, they look at you with that face like, I just work here. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, and then you got those people, like, have you guys ever been at a restaurant or at a fast food place or anywhere, and you see that you need something and you see that one person that's like running to get your food, almost slipping over something, almost drop somebody fries trying to get the beverage, and that person cares. And because they care, that's where the pressure comes in at, right?
Mm.
So there's only pressure. I'll start off by saying there's only pressure for the men that care to be men. Right. That's where the pressure comes in at. And then once you actually care to be a man, anything that you're expected to execute in, there's pressure, right? Until you get used to it, right? So regardless of what level you are in whatever thing that you do, everybody experience some sort of, I guess, nervousness. Everybody experiences pressure. But as men, we have to learn how to dance in the rain, right? So that's exactly what it is. So I would say pressure for everything. If you actually take being a man serious, if you take it to heart, you want to execute, and that brings pressure.
Trey, I'm tired of you. No, okay. You're great. Go ahead, Chris.
No, I was laughing when my boy was when he was talking about the coworker that just shows up. The only thing that ran across my head was the Marshawn Lynch interview at the Super Bowl when he was like, "Look, I'm just here so I won't get fined." That was hilarious, man. But my boy killed it, man. He absolutely right. Like, pick it. Um, but and I like what you said, sis, when you said, pressure, it can be a good thing and it can be a bad thing as well. You let pressure, break you. If you let it get the best of you, it will. But pressure, man, listen, I tell people pressure is like one of my favorite cousins. That's like my best friend, because pressure, it definitely shapes and molds you when you actually, step to it and embrace you. When those challenges come, when that pressure steps to your front door, and you welcome it in, it can like really, as a man, it can, like my brother said, look, if you take it being serious, it will elevate you to new heights and deeper depths as far as being the man, being a leader. We can go on and on, being a better father, or, better businessman, a better community influencer. Pressure is something that I think about, the iron sharpens iron. And normally that's mentioned as far as, two people sharpening each other. But pressure is also that iron that, sharpens you as a man. It just makes you better. And at the end of the day, You know, I honestly feel majority of the men out here, they want to be better. And so if you want to be better, welcome in the pressure. Uh, my boy said it all, to be honest with you, but pick your poison when it comes to pressure. We got a lot out here. And one of the things is we do have to get rid of we got to stop letting social media put the pressure on us. You know, I seriously want to stress, uh, just the urgency of men to just be yourself, man. You don't have to take on, uh, certain false, unrealistic expectations society tries to place on you. Like if you ain't making six figures by 25, you ain't a man. If you ain't doing this by the age of 30, you ain't a man. If you ain't doing that by the age of 35 or 40, you're not a man. Like, nah, that's not the case. We all have our own journeys and we all need to embrace that and just be ourselves out here in this world. Because that whole thing about, if you ain't making six figures, I've seen so many men lose themselves by chasing after that dream. Now, don't get me wrong, it's something that can be obtained, but and it's something that we do need. I ain't gonna stunt, we need money, we need wealth. Like my brother said, bills, they come around once a month and they want their stuff. But for men to take on that mentality of if they're not acquiring this, they don't have six figures, that if they don't have, a home, a house built, or two or three cars driving around in, Mercedes and all these other things, they feel like that strips them of their identity and the manhood, and it strips them of confidence. I'm like, no, don't take that on. Like that's pressure. Like that's internal weight that a lot of men go through, and it's not always talked about. It's not always voiced, but it's something that happens. And like, nah, don't take on that pressure because it's not meant for you. But yeah, that's what I got right there.
That analogy about the sword, though. Have you guys ever seen a sword being made? Like they have a show. What's that? It's like Blade, Forge of Fire. My brother watched this show all the time. And have you ever seen a blade? Like how they got to beat on that piece of metal for it to be as sharp as my brother. Somebody need to tune up an organ. When you said that right there, I almost ran around my house like that. That'll preach real good on any Sunday morning. And yeah, that was it, bro. I just had to make sure that didn't go over nobody's head. Like, do you understand the beating that someone has to go through in order to be as sharp as they need to be? Like, ooh,
Well, fam, that is it. I mean, and look, I speak from a personal experience. I used to run away from the pressure. I used to run away from, the hard things. I enjoyed the quote unquote the easy life. But when I wised up and I'm like, yo, pressure is actually something good. That thing that, makes you nervous, that thing that, strikes fear in your heart, or the thing that, kind of like, just makes you shake. That's what you need to embrace and like face it, man. And then at the end of the day, like you seriously, I was like, yo, I came out better. The things that I faced head on, I'm like, yo, I'm good. And
bro. Will Smith said,
oh, go ahead. What'd you say?
No, I said Will Smith said that the greatest things that we want are on the other side of the biggest thing that we fear. Something along those lines, and I truly believe that. So yeah, bro, I agree with you.
No, and that was it. And honestly, and look, and I could be wrong, but this is just my mindset. From a distance, pressure seems like this big, huge, angry lion, intimidating. But it's really not. When you actually step to it, it becomes a kitten. And then, like my brother said, when you go on the other side of that small kitten, it's like, yo, you got this treasure that's waiting for you, man. And you're good after the fact, man. But look, pressure is nothing. It's an intimidating factor. That's all it is, man. It's intimidation. And that's why I want to urge everybody, like when you're faced with pressure, step to it, man. Be courageous, man. Go through that thing. Then once you get on the other side, man, you just got this wonderful treasure, whether it may be, wealth, wisdom, more confidence, whatever the case may be, whatever, floats your boat, whatever you need at that time, and you're going to get that at the end of that rainbow.
Now, y'all listen. I'm churchy. Okay, got my cloth right here. If y'all don't quit it, I'm going to have to pause this, do a little praise dance over there, and come right back because these gentlemen are dropping some heavenly wisdom. You hear me? This is divine intervention for people. Y'all get it together. Listen, whenever y'all want to cut up, just let me know. Let me know. I can cue some organ music in the background. Okay? We love you too for that. Anyways, so all jokes aside, I think you guys have been sharing a lot of great information about what it means to be a man and the pressures and the weights that that men have to carry. I say they because I'm not one of them, right? So I think it goes into, my next point about what are a man's greatest strengths and weaknesses. Now, these can be your own. I'm not saying you guys are representatives for the male population. I'm just saying you guys know better than I do what are strengths that men have that allow them to carry these pressures, that allow them to carry these weights, and what are weaknesses? What is that thing that, every Superman has a kryptonite? Kryptonite. What's our strengths? What's our crypto?
Um, wow. And it is true. Every man is going to have different strengths, and every man is going to have different weaknesses in his life. Um, Me personally, my strength is my family. Uh, that's what do it for me. Reflecting on, conversations from my great grandfathers or grandfathers, reflecting on conversations from my dad and uncles, being around my aunties and kin folks and all of that good stuff, man, and just soaking in that love right there, man. My mom, all of that, my sister. That's what do it for me. That's where I gain my strength from. Um, and as I want to, downplay that and say, that's the easy part because it's a lot of weight with that. That's something special. But I feel like the weakness part when it comes to men and for myself, and I can kind of like, I feel like I think this is majority of the brothers that are out there. Our weakness is our pride. And that's what gets us into trouble. That's what, gets us into, failing situations, our pride. We don't know how to ask for help. We don't know how to, voice, to our, spouses or, our favorite cousins or our mentors or pastors or whatever. We don't know how to voice like, hey, I need help. I got stuff going on in me, man. I'm losing my mind. I'm going crazy. Like I'm not myself right now. We just, going about our everyday life. You know what I mean? People passing away, like my brother said. I've experienced the same thing, going through grief for an entire 6, 7, 8, 9 months and not saying anything. But like my boy said, we still got to do what we got to do. Still got to go to work. People still relying on us. Um, the community needs us. So we still got to get up and do what we got to do. And, we make that a habit. On the outside, we look good, smiling and all this other stuff. But on the inside, we breaking down. Um, so that's a weakness. We don't know how to, let me not say we don't know how to, we just refuse to ask for help, when we're seriously perishing on the inside and we need someone to pour life into us, man. We don't do that. So our pride gets us into a lot of trouble. And that's our weakness. That's as men as a whole, that's our downfall is our pride.
Yeah, that's good.
I ain't gonna lie, bro. That's the one. And I'm gonna start from the back and then work. I'm gonna start from the weakness first because I definitely have to piggyback off of that because I agree with that wholeheartedly. Pride and just to kind of add to that, in the sense of men hurting and not necessarily talking about it. And this is not an attack because I saw a comment that said something along the lines of like a spiritual man, give it to Jesus, and have him help you carry the burden. And I do believe that, right? Anybody that knows me, I believe that wholeheartedly, right? However, if we read the book, right, and we can only imply certain things, right? We see people like Job and what he went through and that torment and the how his body was being afflicted. And while he never turned away from God and he leaned into God, are we to assume that he was without pain? Like it still hurts, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, so yes, I am a leader in my church, I'm a leader in my community, I'm giving it to God, I'm doing all the right things, but it still hurts, right? And now because of pride, now I'm not now this I'm sliding away from Job. I'm not saying Job did it because of pride, but now as men, because of pride, we are hurting, right? 80 something percent of men are 80% of suicides, right? That's
Mhm.
that's too much,
Yeah.
right? And then
Mhm.
that 75% mark, like we're getting to that point because we're hurting. Like we're literally hurting. Like believers, right, who believe on Jesus, we talk about the death, burial, and resurrection. That hurt. Like what he went through hurt. Like, yes,
Mhm.
I appreciate him for it, but it hurt.
Mhm.
He was just as he was God. Hurt. And I think the pride in us, and I'm using that word hurt in big capital letters and exclamation point because we are hurting, right? I'm
Mhm.
talking. I might just be talking about me, right? Maybe I'm just talking about we are hurting. I am hurting, and we will die unless you say something about it, right? Whether you die internally, right, and now you're detached, you don't know who you are anymore. We've all seen that one person who's like, after this happened, he just never was the same. Like we die on the inside, we die on the outside. We're killing ourselves. We're dying in certain situations. We're allowing different relationships, and not just intimate relationships. It could be work relationships. Whether we're staying at a job, we're killing ourselves,
Mm.
literally and figuratively, spiritually. We
Yeah.
gotta stop.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I definitely wanted to add to the pride portion of those things, and I think one of the strengths that we have as men, just generally, one of the traits that I see in a lot of men that I believe handle manhood, and they make it look easy, is just the ability to fill a gap, right? The ability to make it look easy, and it's a strength and a weakness, right? For
Mm.
someone to be in so much pain, for someone to not want to do it at all, right? And but when you see them, they just make it look so easy, right? Like I remember the first time I moved out on my own, and I had came back home, and it didn't work out for me the first time. I came back home, and my parents always told me, especially my dad, like, if just know you can always come here, right? No matter what, you can always come here. And when I came back home, when I tell you, like, I was turning lights off after people, I was taking the trash out every day. I had to go out. And he looked at me one day, like, and he said, "Yeah, it wasn't easy being me, was it?" Right. So I think like that. That's one of the things that I think men do well, so much so that people take it for granted. Our ability to
Mm.
fill in the gaps and make things work.
Yeah.
Man, that's that kryptonite piece she spoke about. Like, oh, that's brothers are out here really the modern day, everyday life Supermans, like real talk. Um, bro, man, I appreciate you, man. Like, yo, when you started talking about the spiritual piece, the religious piece, that's so dope. A lot people are scared to touch that. And I like what you said there because I have those same exact feelings towards that. Like, don't get me wrong. Prayer, going to God, taking things to God, it is a must. We need that. It's a time and place for that. But those days of just saying, listen, get down on your knees and go pray about it. Like those days are over. We've seen the effects from it. Just that. Don't get me wrong. Prayer is a powerful thing. I utilize prayer, but you got to know that, yeah, take it to God, but also go seek some kind of, some follow up help. Just don't stop there. Just don't pray about it, but also go do some work after the fact. Seek a counselor, go seek a mentor, go, get out here, man, and and just get right. But all of that,
Listen,
get
bro.
and go pray. That's not it. That's not getting it done right now, man. Not at all.
Listen,
We got to follow up with
listen,
some.
bro.
Yeah, we got to follow up with some therapists. We got to follow up with something else, but that's not it. And we don't talk about that enough, man. I know it's an old school mentality. I know as far as our people, black people, and that was our thing, just, go lay it at the feet of Jesus. Yeah, you go lay it at the feet of Jesus, but what else? And it's a lot of men out here, fiending for that. It's like, okay, what's next? I prayed about it. So now what's up? I'm waiting,
Now watch this.
What's up?
Watch this, Chris. Now, I'm so sad that, right? This is the schools, fellas. Right? I love ruffling feathers, especially when it comes to what I believe, right? Because there are certain things that we believe based off of tradition and things that may not, things that if you look at it, if you go back and take a second look, there are times where there was prayer, there was a request made, and then it happened, right? But there were more times, right? There were more times where we see things like, I always love to bring this up, the woman with the issue of blood, right? Prayer is an evidence of our faith, right? But faith produces something as well, right? So people say, all right, I have faith, I have faith, I have faith. We're not, we don't need works or whatever. I have faith, I have faith, I have faith, right? Now, while works is not what edifies us or whatever, or puts us in a good standing with God, our prayer will do something. But when we have faith, it produces an action, right? So the woman with the issue of blood, how was she healed, right? When she said to herself, she said, if I could just touch the hem of his garment, I shall be made whole. So that's that faith piece, right? Like if I can just get a little touch, just a little, right? And we think that she saw for a while. She's having this conversation, not just with herself, but she has to be talking to God about this as well. Like if I can just if I can just get a piece, if I can just get close, if I can just touch the hem of his garment, I will be made whole. Now, the interesting part is, and I love Jesus's response because he says to her, your faith has made you whole, right? So he was very clear in the fact that, I didn't touch you and you were whole. I don't have on a special garment and you were made whole. Your faith has made you whole, right? Now, the interesting part about that is she had all the faith in the world, but it was the action of her exercising her faith that made, like, so if she didn't exercise, if that faith didn't produce that action in her, she would not have been made whole, right? So I say that to say, yes, prayer does change things, right? And in the Bible, it says meditate on the word, but guess what? As you're meditating on this word, it produces an action, right? So, God, I want to be made whole. God, I want to get away from this situation. God, so now you know what happens in your everyday life when we're making it. So we're going to make it practical, right? What happens in our everyday life now is, I want to be made whole. I want to be made whole. I want to be made whole. And now when God comes and sends that raft, when God comes and sends that lifeboat, when Jesus comes and says, and I asked Jesus, can I step out on the water with him? I'm not going to look down because I've been meditating on this thing. So I recognize that this is Jesus. I recognize that this is God. And now I'm always going to be pushed in the right direction because I'm meditating on it. So yes, prayer does change things, but God is not Santa Claus, right? I heard TD Jake say, people think we serve a God of tables and chairs when we really serve a God that gives you a tree and an axe. You can pray for it, but there's some work that we have to do. And this is why he equips us to be doctors. This is why he equips us to be therapists. This is why he equips so we can help each other. We were made to be social. So just to go into what you said, Chris, it may be some therapy that you may need on top of that. It may be a men's group that you may. This is why he anoints us to be able to help each other. So yes, prayer works. Not saying don't pray, but when you're in it, it produces an action. Your faith will produce an action. And I can think of a few other examples of that, but I'm not going to go there. I'm just going to leave it right.
Sir, if you don't preach over here on this episode, go ahead.
Because look, man, we got everything stirred up right now, man. I'm just like, I love this type of talk because it's out of the box. It's not your normal type of thinking, your normal type of conversation right here, man. And this is not discussed enough, especially within the church, man. And we got to get out of that. Like this whole walk with God, this whole relationship with Jesus is all about actions. At the end of the day, it's always about action. Yeah, like I said, yeah, there are going to be times when you pray and that blessing is just going to, mysteriously pop up at your front door. But oftentimes you're going to have to pray and you're going to have to get your behind up and go do something about what you need to do, man. And listen, you take that first step, God is going to take the next 50 for you. It's just that simple, man. But he just need for you to, God needs for you to, he needs to see that you want it bad enough, to be honest with you. If you just lackadaisical about it, you're just lazy about it, you're not trying to do anything about it, God is like, yo, I can't bless that. I can't give you what you need because you're not demonstrating that you want it bad enough. So listen, yo, bro, I appreciate you, man. That was good. That was
Right.
good, man.
Because you're not demonstrating that you really like. If I pray to God and I say, God, I want this new job, and I don't actually go out there and put a job application in, do I really believe that He's gonna give me the new job? I'm
Come
with you, bro.
on, Trey. Y'all listen. Out here preaching on this here episode. You know, I heard a preacher say that when Peter was walking on the water to get to Jesus, he wasn't necessarily walking on water, he was walking on the word. Because Peter understood that if Jesus sends out a word to come, that means whatever I'm walking on, it has to hold me up because I got to walk because Jesus said come. So listen, I just want to hop on in right quick because I can't let y'all just preach this. I just have to throw a little something in the bucket. But listen, y'all are on to something real, real good. This is why I gotta bring y'all back. Listen, any other live I do, y'all just gonna have to be on it together, individually. I don't care how we do it. Okay?
Yeah. Crazy thing is, I don't even know what the previous question was, yo. We just
It
That
don't
part.
even matter because y'all answered like 17 questions all in one. We were talking about the strengths and weaknesses of a man. Is what we were talking about. But what y'all was saying is faith increases your strength, your belief in God increases your strength, your ability to understand who you are in God increases your strength. So as men, yes, take it to the Lord, absolutely. But then do some work because faith without works is dead, y'all. Dead. He didn't say it's dormant. He said dead. That means it's as if we never uttered a word out of our mouth because if we can't put action behind what we're saying, that
What
thing
He
is
did with
dead.
Adam, He put him to work. That's the first thing He did. He told him go work. Gotta go do the work.
Yes. Yes, Mama. We faith without works is dead. It's my mama, y'all. She know the word. Yes, they're answering questions. So, we're talking about weaknesses. We're talking about strengths. We're talking about pride. The Bible talks about pride comes before destruction. So, like, we got to let go of the pride, man, or just people in general, because women, we prideful too. We have egos too. We just, right, just a little bit, Trey, just a little bit. Women, we out here too, struggling. So Chris said something about not carrying stuff silently. And that's what I really want to speak to next because I think men often, I don't know why, maybe it's because of pride, maybe it's because you don't want to feel or come off emasculated when you show a weakness or whatever, but there has to be a way to unsilence that. So how do you guys think that men express their pains, their woes? How can men be better at it? Or is it something that us females in society have to do? Do we have to create the safe spaces that allow men to feel free to come open and share and you won't be emasculated, you won't be talked about? Like, what is it? How do men feel more comfortable to come out and say, I'm struggling, I'm hurting?
I think the first thing is that we have to equip the world to handle what men have to say. That's the biggest thing. And since we already opened up the box, I'm gonna go there. In Acts chapter 4, I believe, there was a lame man at the front of the temple. And I believe it was Peter and John who were going into the temple, and the man was asking them for money. And basically they told the man, it was like, silver and gold I have not, or I don't have any money. But what I do have, I give to you. They later went to say, in the name of Jesus, get up and walk. They grabbed his hand, picked him up. The man walked, leaped for joy, and the people around were amazed. The biggest thing that stuck out to me in that passage of scripture is, I don't have this, but what I do have, I give to you. We can't expect a world to be able to, or a man to be able to say, what is it that I have to do to get you to listen to me when you're not equipped? You don't have it, right? They couldn't do or perform the miracle that they performed if Acts chapter 2 didn't happen, and they didn't receive the Holy Spirit. So they couldn't provide what they did not have, right? So the same way that we talk about a safe space for men, if there is no safe space, or if that man doesn't feel like there's a safe space, the conversation stops there, right? So as much as we want to say, just talk, um, if the world or the person around that or the people around that particular man or men are not equipped to handle that properly, it could hurt than harm, because it'll reinforce the negative thoughts or towards that man not saying anything in the first place. So yeah, I think that the best thing that we can do is equip the world and the people around us so that they can have what that man needs in order to be able to be vulnerable and express himself.
So good. Chris, it's on you, sir.
I agree. That is the number one thing right there, is equipping society, of the man's voice and the man's needs. And I would say the second biggest thing is we need to we have to unlearn bad behavior. We got to unlearn as men. And well, society in general, it still ties into what my brother is saying. It goes hand in hand. Equipping the world is number one. Then second is, look, we got to evolve, past stinking thinking, unlearn some things. And this is why that scripture that I can't, think of the actual verse or whatever, but where it's located at. But this is why, we need to renew our minds daily. This is why having a renewed mind is so important, and so this is for us to get it, so we don't go back to, old ways that, as we can see now, it's 2023, things that our fathers and grandfathers used to do, as far as, holding things in and not, having, safe spaces and all these other things like that, not participating in things that could, make you better as an individual, and, just getting things off your chest. I don't think men had man caves back then in the 60s and 70s. I could be wrong, but when we have a renewed mind, that keeps away the ill will thinking, that keeps us from going back to old ways that really didn't benefit us to begin with. So yes, equip the world, but listen, we got to unlearn some things as well, so we don't go back to to the old age of things that had us in bondage for so long. And we're still, even now, 2023, we're still unlearning some things, and some of us we're still in bondage. But that's it right there. Renew the mind. You renew the mind, you condition the mind for new things and new ways of doing things, and conditioning the mind of new thinking and new thoughts. It's evolving, and that's what God wants for us at the end of the day. He don't want us to be in the same place that we were in 1950. It's 2023, and God definitely wants us to be, evolved and being, healthy and whole and all of that good stuff right there. So number one, equip the world, and number two, unlearn bad behavior.
I don't know what to do with y'all. Y'all are so good. Unlearn bad behavior. I was literally telling my client earlier this week that in counseling or therapy, whatever you want to call it, most of the hard part is to unlearn whatever someone has been doing for all of these years. The second half is to teach them new skills, but you can't teach something new when old stuff is occupying the space, because the old stuff is what breaks people. The old stuff can't hold it, right? Like, the one of the major things in the Bible that really like blew my mind was when God took the Israelites out of Egypt, right? The problem was Egypt never left them. So he's like, listen, before y'all get to this new thing, I need those old things to truly pass. You hear me? So that means y'all got to keep walking, even though he provided the whole time they were circling around. What was it, like a 7-day trip that took 40 years? Like he said, I am not going to let a slave mentality go to that next place, because you have to go from slave to victor, right? To the point where what you used to have is no longer appealing because you trust me with what's to come, right? So it's about learning how to unlearn where you were, what you had, because God's like, I want to give you more, but your old mindset is going to ruin this new place. Your old way of thinking, your old way of behaving is going to ruin this new place. And God's like, I don't waste my blessings. So if y'all don't get out of this with a renewed mind, like Chris was saying, like the scripture that says, behold, all things have passed away and all things have become new. If it's not new, God's not going to waste it. So unlearn the behaviors, the mindsets, the messages, the ideologies, the how you conceptualize the world, so that when God brings you to a new place, you can occupy that new place because you're new within yourself. Y'all are so good. So good. My mom asked the question earlier, and it kind of ties in, excuse me, to what I wanted to ask you guys about women. How can we do better? Because I think we don't make it as easy for a man to be a man. And Trey, you had said something on Steph's podcast. It hurt me a little bit. I ain't gonna lie, it hurt me a little bit. But you said a woman needs to let a man be a man and step out of the way, right? And how women, we interfere and we do too much. I agree to that. So how can women help a man be a man? What do we have to do? Educate the sisters. This is for us. Maybe for me. But go ahead, Chris.
So real quick, before we even get into that question, I have a question.
Yeah.
Why did that hurt you? Why did his statement hurt you?
Not you throwing that on me. Okay. It hurt me because I think as a person that prides herself on creating safe spaces for people, I've seen that I'm too involved and I try to do too much. And when men aren't shifting the way that they said they're going to shift, or they're not upholding the promises that they have, I kind of get really handsy and bothered. Like I just like, come on, like do this and do this. And I overstep boundaries because I'm like, hey, I want to hold you accountable. But the way I hold people accountable is I do too much. And so I was like, when Trey said that, he's like, know your place. I was like, ooh, yep, okay. So I had to learn how to know my place and not overstep and let a man be a man. And whether it's on my timing, his timing, God's timing, the timing has to be right. And it's not according to me, it's according to him. So that's why it hurt a little bit.
That's good. And that's good. And listen, we ain't here to beat the sisters down or anything like that, because you're actually coming from a good place, the way you describe that. And that's dope. And honestly, we do appreciate that. But unfortunately, it does, cause some damage to a man's self-esteem, or, his thoughts of mental capacity.
Mm-hmm.
Things like that are taking place when you're kind of like, stepping on his toes, or like going before him, especially if this is something that's, geared towards him, or, fellow men, or, things of that nature like that. Although your heart is in the right place, it can cause a little, it can ruffle some feathers when it comes to the men, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, I know I said something really interesting when it comes to that. Chris, you said something that was bless my socks off. When we talked about that. What was it? What was the word that you used?
It was the compassion.
Yes, compassion.
Yeah.
Compassion. I'm gonna let. Do you want to?
No. Because I'm like you. Like I really don't want to say something that I said in another podcast, the last podcast. But I'm like, it is what it is. It still stick, but yeah, you go ahead and flow, man, because you might bring a different, still talk about compassion, but a different angle or perspective from it. So go ahead and rip.
Right. Um, that compassion, first and foremost, Chris said something along the lines of women being compassionate. Like that was one of the things that he brought up. And in the way that he said it, I had never heard it like that. And it was similar to the way that that you talked about, Jermaine, earlier about extending grace, right? And just being compassionate to men in all of our struggles and all aspects of us being a man. And I think that's so big and so key. And to tie into that, like you said, Jermaine, my ideology when it comes to this is we understand that women now have driver's licenses, right? We understand that you guys can drive the car now. Like we get it. Like you can drive the car, you can get the BMWs, but you got to know when to get out the driver's seat, right? Like that's the biggest thing. And I think too many times nowadays, it's almost like if you tell people in general, like, okay, this is not for you right now, it's taken too personal, right? And if we allow for things to get too far out of order, right? And I'm saying this generally, if we allow for things to get too far out of order, then at this point we're just making things up, right? And I say that with all things in mind, right? I have a friend that was just telling me how that there's a movie that just came out that has non-binary characters in it. It's a Disney movie that has non-binary characters in it. I've gone to one of my kids' shows at school, a play, and there was a lesbian or gay love interest at the school. He's in middle school. And I'm bringing all this stuff up. I'm going to tie it in, but I'm bringing all this stuff up because it's like we're doing whatever we want, whenever we want. And if things get too out of hand, now what is a man, right? What is a woman, right? And we're faced with that now. Like I've seen those conversations like, well, being a woman is a broad spectrum. No, it's not. If you're a woman, you're a woman. Like, well, being a man, it could mean so many different things. Like if you're a man, you're a man, right? Yes, women, you can, the same way that we have to be capable to take care of ourselves. If you're not around, like if I haven't found a wife, I have to be capable to cook, clean, and take care of myself and survive. And if you're a woman that hasn't, your husband hasn't found you yet, you have to be able to do all of those things. In certain jobs, if you want to make a certain amount of money, it costs to be the boss, literally, right? And you can be the boss at work, sis. Lead that company, be that COO, that CFO, that CEO. But just know when you come in that crib, that's that man house. That's that man house. You the boss at work. You're not the boss in the crib. And if we keep allowing that to be okay, to be and don't get me wrong, for some people that may work, right? And because I know a lot of times when we talk about different things, somebody will bring up the anomaly. Somebody will bring up the exception. There's always an exception to the rule. Like you'll get certain people that are okay with it. But for the most part, don't no man want that. No man want that. So yes, you can drive the car. You got to know when to slide to the passenger seat. And if you pick well, right now, this is where it goes on you, women. If you pick well, you don't have to be uncomfortable about sliding to the passenger seat. So it's on you to choose well as well, right? Like we can't say all men. There's billions of people on this earth. You know what I mean? Like if you choose well, you don't even have to be uncomfortable about moving over, but you got to know when to move over and be compassionate. When it's time for him to be vulnerable, if that's your guy, whether it's your husband, your love interest, your son, your whoever it is. So yeah, those are two things I would say like women, they need to tap into.
Yep. Go ahead, Chris.
Man, my goodness, man, bro. I appreciate that, man. That was good stuff. Man, I mean, have y'all seen society nowadays, man? People are already making things up. And it's chaotic right now. It's wild right now. I love my brother Sher. I love the spill that he just laid on us. I echo all of that. And listen, yeah, like I said, I didn't want to really, regurgitate what I mentioned before in the previous podcast, but I mean, I'm of the idea if women were more understanding and more compassionate to men, things will be better. That's what we need from women nowadays. We just need understanding and we need compassion, uh, love and some respect as well. And I think that's where my brother was coming from right there, as far as, listen, definitely, drive the BMW, but know when to slide over. That's a respect factor right there. But the compassionate part and the understanding part, I can't move myself from that, because um, that's what we need. We need compassion because, like I mentioned earlier, we're unlearning some things and we're learning new things. And some of this stuff was passed down where women are advanced at in certain areas. We have to catch up. And we have to catch up because we were, disabled as young men. Certain things we didn't learn. We didn't catch on to it until we were 30, 35. So certain characteristics and traits and wisdom, knowledge, and things of that nature, what women had obtained at an early age, 15, 18, 22, 25, we're not getting that until we're like 35 or 40. So unfortunately, that's the reality that we live in. And if I feel like if women would catch on to that and grab hold of, okay, you know what, I can be understanding towards this man in this department right here because of his past, and not just his past, but the previous men's past. We got to date this thing all the way back 40, 50, 60 years, 70, 80, can continue on and on from that. But if we grab a hold of that and understand that, men, we don't have certain, what's the word I want to use? Some certain men, man, we don't have the, we weren't given the same luxury as coming up, as young boys and young girls. We weren't given the same luxury. And what I mentioned in Steph's podcast, I brought it up before I mentioned the compassion piece. Back home in Texas, I was at a gas station and I came across these teenagers. They were on a double date and they caught a flat tire and they had to air up the tire, change the tire, air up the tire, and all this other stuff like that. They was in that predicament. They was in that situation. And the young ladies, they was laughing and mocking the gentleman, the young man, because they didn't know how to change a tire. They didn't know how to air up the tire. They didn't know how to change the tire. So I had to go over, went over, to see what was going on, lend a helping hand. I'm like, okay, let me show you how to, get the bar out, jack the car up, change the tire, air the whole works. But it just blew my mind that the sisters the young ladies were like mocking and laughing these brothers. I asked them, I'm like, yo, y'all ain't know how to change the tire. They're like, no one taught them. They were 17 at the time, but no one taught them. And that's what I'm getting at. Instead of women mocking and laughing at us, at the age we're 30 and 35 now, we're trying to, obtain degrees and, certifications and get those six figures and all this other stuff like that, where, y'all got y'all stuff already. We're trying to catch up, and we're trying to catch up because no one taught us or no one placed that in us. You feel me? A lot of us, a lot of men, at the age of 15, they were taught to just work and quote unquote provide, bring the money. And that's all we were good for. That was manhood right there. But now we're unlearning that. That's still key. That's still a factor. We can still do them things, but we're so much more than just bringing home a paycheck. Like, we're so much more than that. And now that brothers are tapping into that reality, we're evolving now. And so we need for women to just be compassionate, patient. That's what I meant too. Be compassionate, be patient, understanding that we're catching up and we're learning new things at the moment, man. So yes, I echo everything what my brother said, but that compassionate piece and that understanding piece will go such a long way.
Mm-hmm. I don't even want to end the episode. I just like talking to y'all. But definitely patience, compassion, and grace, understanding, all of that is good. I heard a preacher say that men deserve to be loved when they're broke too, when they're struggling and they're trying to figure out, like, why does Why is it okay for women to be broke and work their way up, but a man can't be loved until he's advanced, right? Which is why a lot of women go for older men, because like, okay, well, he got it together. He has his money together. He got the house together. But he was like, if we have to be compassionate to women who are struggling and life has happened and, you know, they couldn't get what they needed to get, why don't men get that same type of love in return? And I think that's the love. Like the Bible says that love covers a multitude of sins. Like men deserve to be loved through the process. Men deserve to be carried through the process, however that looks like. Like if you need support and you need someone just be like, babe, I got you. Like it's okay if I have to carry the burden for a little bit or whatever that is. But like Trey said, no one slide over when he got it together, you know, like that's something that women, I believe, we can do better. And as I learned, just let a man be a man. Step aside. Don't overstep. They'll get there. Trust them. Don't emasculate and hurt and burden further. I got it. Y'all taught me something. Okay. Okay.
If you choose the right one, because don't go get Pookie and them and then be like Trey and Chris said to give him grace, and you know Pookie and them ain't on that, right? Like you got to make sure that he's on the right trajectory, or at least you put him in the right place so he could be, you know, because even Pookie and them got a calling. So you know but if he not headed in that direction, don't get with no loser and be like Chris and Trey said, stick beside him, because that's not who we said.
He about to get me stirred up again. He about to get me going again. See, even the Pookie and the Ray Rays, even they deserve some compassion, man, because they were never taught. They were taught the wrong things, and so now that produced the Pookies and the Ray Rays and all this other stuff. And that's where we come in. Like my brother said, we got to equip the world. We got to unlearn some things, man. But listen, even the Pookies deserve a little. They deserve a little compassion and love too, man.
Mm-hmm. Just know they need a little bit more patience, right? They're not all the way done. Like that's what I'm saying. Don't get with Pookie and Ray Ray and think that, oh, I'm just going to know. You got to make sure he has the tools, right? Like we talking about practical things. Don't just pray God so we are right now. And no, that's not the case. Make sure he has the tools, you have the tools, so y'all can be successful, right?
No, I get it. We can't be out here trying to marry potential, because what if he never achieves, or she, it could be a she. What if they never get to that potential? You mad at yourself because you dated a potential, not where someone is and what they're showing you that they can elevate to. That's smart. All right, guys. It has been over an hour. Like I said, I can talk to y'all all day. I can do this all day. But you know, people's attention spans they shrink these days. Thank you, social media. So I like to do a call to action at the end of every podcast, which is like words of encouragement, but a little bit more than that. Because like we were talking about faith with works, like leave an encouraging word for the people. Also let the people know where they can find you. But like action steps. What do we need to do to improve this proverbial weight that men have to carry?
Man, listen, call to action. Look, although this month has been fantastic, it's been awesome. I've been on different platforms where we, you know, uplift, you know, kings out here, brothers, and, you know, speaking life to men, and, you know, making people aware of mental health and what we actually go through. Is one thing for, you know, women to speak for us or speak you on our behalf, but it's another thing when you actually hear men voice what's actually going on within us. So this month has been great, but just don't stop here. You know, let's make this a monthly thing. Actually, let's 365 days throughout the year. Let's make this a yearly thing. Let's just not, you know, live it up for 1 month and then, you know, everything just died down. Like, let's continue to push this and press this, because listen, you know, I enjoy seeing women healthy, happy, whole, laughing, having a wonderful life. That's been pushed for years, for the last 4 or 5 years. That's been pushed. But as far as the men, that has not been pushed. So we need to get into the habit of doing that as well, because when everybody is happy, whole, healed, living a good life, we're like this, like we're tight, we're good. And I'm big on that. So speak life into the men just as much as, society speak life into the women. That's pretty much what I got to say, man. Let's not just, do this for 1 month, speak life for 1 month, love on men for 1 month. And, next month, it's back to, the same old, same old. Let's keep this energy going year round, man.
I echo that to the ends of the earth. I agree. Like, we can't just do it 1 month. We can't just do it one day. I know that we've been conditioned to give bouquets and chocolates and all that for Mother's Day and socks and ties for Father's Day. But we gotta. This has to be an all year thing. It has to be all, because when everybody's healthy and happy, we're all thriving. Hence a better me, a better we, right? Like, the better we are as individuals, the better we can be together as people. So I agree with Chris in that aspect. And as far as where you can find me, I'm gonna go ahead and speak for Chris. I'm gonna say where you can find us. We outside, so we are wherever you need us to be. Wherever we are needed, from what I've heard from Chris, he will be wherever you need him to be, whether it's virtual or in person. If it's in person, give us some time, because bills need to get paid and we have families. But we are wherever we are needed. We outside, and we want to push. We want to push just for overall health, physical and mental health, and everyone. But specified on men, because unfortunately, a lot of us are not making it in a lot of different ways.
Yeah, I love it. So clearly, they can help y'all with some spiritual wellness, because y'all heard these men preach, right? Chris is a life coach. If y'all need some life coach assistance, reach out to Chris, because that's just what he does. Men empowerment. Traquan does the same thing, and he be preaching, y'all. Check out his videos. He's one of those preachers that make you stop and think, like, hold on, did he just say that? Let me check myself, because these men are great. But y'all will see them again. I don't know on what episodes. I don't know how many times. But Trey, he's a friend of the pod, and then Chris, we just added him in because he's great. He's amazing. So if you guys need more, want to hear more, want to talk to them more, Traquan Newson on Facebook, Christopher Hensen on Facebook. Chris is also was a life coach, Chris, on Instagram. Is that it?
Yeah, life coach underscore Chris on IG. But yeah, I completely forgot all about the whole, shouting out way people can find us. But like my brother said, and that's why I was so humble about it. But like my bro said, we outside, man. We out here. We got our boots to the ground. We doing it, man.
He has a virtual men's check-in. Is it every other Wednesday? What is it?
I run it once a month. It varies, but for the most part, it's on the weekend, because that's when most men have time to kind of like jump online and fellowship. But like my brother said, man, I love the virtual stuff, man. But look, we outside. Stay tuned. We got some stuff coming, man. I don't know where people located at, but look, man, we got some stuff coming for the New York area. We finna liven this thing up, man. So the outside part is what's going on.
Well, all right, gentlemen, I appreciate you guys more than you know. Thank you to everyone who has watched this, who has shared this, who's either watching it live or who's just watching on rebroadcast. Again, we are here to make sure that you guys are well and whole in every area of your life. Thank you for watching, and I will see you. Just watch out for some, notifications, guys, because you never know what your man's going to be up to. But anyway, y'all be blessed. Have a good night. Bye-bye.